Welcome back to RTI Radio. We're live in the Rice Buick GMC studio, and we are now pleased to be joined by Terry Lambert. He writes for MusicCityMiracles.com, an SB Nation affiliate. He does NFL draft and Titans analysis for them. Terry, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
It's going well. We appreciate you joining us. Want to kind of get an off-season preview for the Titans from you today. A lot of big storylines around that franchise in terms of trying to rebuild what's been just a frustrating couple years, frustrating from an ownership standpoint, frustrating from a coaching standpoint. I know a lot of fans have a lot of questions and frustrations as well. So just a few questions about that today. And let's start with that number one overall pick. I know you do a lot of draft analysis for the site. Give us a few names that you think the Titans are going to kind of zero in on in this evaluation process as they look at their options. And we'll assume for now, for the sake of this question, that they stay at that number one pick.
Yeah, it's an interesting draft because there doesn't seem to be that number one runaway consensus number one pick. I've seen three names really thrown around. Laramie Tunsil, the left tackle, Joey Bosa, the defensive end, and Jalen Ramsey, the corner from Florida State. Tunsil, if you want to fix your offensive line once and for all, Tunsil is an interesting option. That would kick Taylor Lewan over to the right side, give the Titans two bookends, kind of like they had with David Stewart and Michael Roos. Joey Bosa was kind of getting some love when the Titans were flirting with going back to the 4-3. I don't know if he's a 3-4 guy. He's 270 pounds, kind of in between that rush linebacker and 5-tech defensive end role. And then you look at Jalen Ramsey. He did everything for Florida State in that secondary. He played press corner, played some nickelback, played some safety, even blitzed off the edge a ton. But, for my money, you got to protect your franchise quarterback. Get Laramie Tunsil, take that first step into dominating games with your offensive line again.
Terry, I personally am a big proponent of the Titans not using that pick for anything other than to trade it. I think they should trade for someone, trade to their team to move down. I don't know how far, maybe just a few more picks so they can still get someone like a Jalen Ramsey or something like that. What do you think the odds of them actually trading that first pick are? Because it seems like this discussion gets brought up almost every season where there's not really a top pick, but it doesn't. I can probably count on my hand, like one hand, how many times I've actually seen the first pick traded. What do you think the odds of the Titans actually doing that are?
Yeah, I think they're pretty low. It's only been traded 4 times. Last time it was done was 2001 when the Falcons came up. They went from 5-1 to get Michael Vick. It was done 3 times in the 90s, but it hasn't happened in 15 years. And there's a reason for that, because it's just so tough to match the value that number one pick brings. But, like I said, it's a weird year. That number one pick isn't as valuable. So really, what Titans fans need to be rooting for, they need Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, they need Lynch from Memphis. They need all of those guys to rise and kill the process to really drive up that asking price. As far as trading partners, you're looking at Cleveland at 2. You're hoping they get scared at Dallas. Dallas is coaching Carson Wentz down in Mobile this week. Outside of the top 5, it's really tough to match the value that pick brings. You're talking about multiple first-round picks, multiple future first-round picks from a team like San Francisco or maybe even the Rams wanting to upgrade their quarterback spot. So I think it's unlikely, but the ingredients are certainly there this year. So we'll see. Maybe it happens for the first time in 15 years this season.
Terry, this will take a little bit more speculation. I know you can't predict this without seeing what all goes on the first round, but I'm interested in what direction you think the Titans might want to go with that number one pick in the second round overall. I know there's been a lot of talk about running back. Derrick Henry's a guy. I know I've seen on y'all's site you've done an evaluation of him. Titans have had very poor luck in the second round with running backs, but they need to upgrade that position desperately. Is that a direction you could see them going there, either with Henry if he's available or somebody else? Or do you think the Titans will want to do something altogether in the second round?
Absolutely. I think Henry's a very real option at pick 33. That's kind of where I've got him slotted. I've got him slotted in that, late first round, pick 25 to like pick 40, something like that. And the thing with Mike McCarty, remember his time in Atlanta. He leaned on Michael Turner. He was his bell cow. Gave him 25 touches a game. Derrick Henry can be that guy. He's 6'3", pushing 240 pounds. If they don't go running back, I could see receiver there. They've had terrible luck with receivers. Dorial Green-Beckham's come along, but Kendall Wright was banged up all year. You don't know what you've got in Justin Hunter. So guys like Josh Doxson from TCU, Michael Thomas from Ohio State, Tyler Boyd from Pitt, I could easily see them splurging for another receiver, even though they've got so much invested in the spot already.
Terry, you mentioned Justin Hunter, so as a University of Tennessee-centric show here, we're obligated to ask you about his future and if you think he has any with the Titans.
Well, it's hard to say. He's so frustrating. He was a frustrating evaluation at Tennessee. He was just so inconsistent, and that kind of carried over to the league. I think we've all seen what he can do. We've all seen him flash, but the consistency just isn't there. He can get downfield, but when it comes to getting up and getting the ball at the catch point, he just seems weak. Doesn't have that my ball mentality, and you factor all that in with he can't stay healthy, and I think he gets cut this year. I think he's got one more year left on his rookie deal, but I'd be surprised if he's in Nashville next season.
The Titans, obviously, it looks like they're going to be another rebuilding year. In 2016, they're not going to really be expected to compete for the AFC South or anything really other than trying to just improve the win total a little bit and still kind of piece together, get some more development for the young guys. But how active do you think they're going to be in free agency? Or do you think they're going to hold off and kind of really start pursuing the free agent market in 2017 again?
Well, they certainly have the cap space to be aggressive. Last year was Amy Adams-Trunk's first season as controlling owner in a free agency period, and she went out and got Brian Arakpo. She re-signed Derek Morgan after he hit the market, Parrish Cox, Denoris Cersei. So she was certainly aggressive year one. Like I said, $23 million in cap space this year before any cuts are even made. There's so many needs. I think she'll be aggressive again. Got to get a tackle, got to get a center. You need a running back, need another linebacker, need a couple of safeties, need a corner. The list goes on and on. I really don't see how she can't be aggressive this free agency period.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the positions that need upgrading. I know it's a little bit early because you got to see who all gets franchised and re-signed and all those things, but are there any big names that the Titans might be targeting in free agency should they come available?
Yeah, every fan base has been talking about Eric Berry. Every fan base wants Eric Berry, Josh Norman, Alex Mack, Alshon Jeffrey. I'd be surprised if any of those guys hit the market. But yeah, I think you got to get more veteran presence in your secondary. Guys like Eric Weddle, Tayshaun Gibson, Lewis Delmas, all guys that can come in and provide a little more stability in your secondary. Even at corner, Leon Hall, Sean Smith. I'm over the Bleedy Ray Wilson experiment and the Cody Sensabaugh experiment. It's just not working out. Every time you turn the TV on, it seemed like Sensabaugh was getting burned deep. So I think you need some veteran guys. Parrish Cox was up and down. That's kind of the route I would go again. Maybe add to that Parrish Cox signing. And then you look at running back. Running back's very interesting. You've got Matt Forte, Lamar Miller, Chris Ivory, and looks like Arian Foster going to hit the market. Can sign some of those guys to a short-term deal, kind of bridge the gap to what looks to be a just crazy good running back class in 2017 with Leonard Fournette, Dalvin Cook, Jalen Hurd, Nick Chubb. List goes on and on. So I would attack their running back through free agency with that Forte, Lamar Miller, Chris Ivory type attack.
Terry, we really appreciate your time today. Tell people where they can find you on Twitter, online. This is your first time on the show. We really appreciate it. So, introduce yourself a little bit and tell people where they can follow you.
Yeah, absolutely. My Twitter handle is @TLambertSB. I write for Music City Miracles. It's an SB Nation site for the Tennessee Titans. We get to have fun on there. We don't have to be, as as structured. We can have fun. We can tell it like it is. MusicCityMiracles.com, again, with SB Nation. We just have a good time over there. Go interact with us, get us on Twitter, and shoot us some comments in the comment section.
Good stuff, Terry. We appreciate it. We'll have you back.
All right. Thanks, man.
As Terry Lambert does a great job for the MusicCityMiracles.com, part of the SB Nation network, covering the Titans. He does a lot of draft stuff, too. That's a big part of the reason I wanted to have him on today. Yeah. He does in-depth breakdowns on a lot of different prospects. Not just that the Titans are looking at, but just really good college players, guys you'd be interested. So give him a follow at @TLambertFB. MusicCityMiracles.com is where his work goes. Really appreciate him joining us today. We'll have him back on the show